Good afternoon, everyone. I call to order this regularly scheduled meeting of the Ways and Means Committee. My name is Councilmember Warsame, and I'm the chair of the committee. And with me today are Council Members Cunningham, Johnson, Fletcher, Palmisano, and Vice President Jenkins. And we have a full committee, and we can conduct our business. But before I start this committee, I wanted to send a message, my condolences to the people of Pittsburgh in general, and the Jewish American community in particular. On Saturday, we had an anti-Semitic shooting, mass shooting, in which 11 innocent civilians were killed and many others were injured. And in the 21st century, to be talking about anti-Semitism and hatred towards a community, it's disturbing. And what's also more disturbing is the reaction that we've had from our national government. And I wanted to send my condolences personally, and if my colleagues wanted to speak on this matter, Councilmember Cunningham.
I would like to co-sign that, and I also just want to name that there were 2 black folks who were killed in Louisville, Kentucky as well, in a race-motivated hate crime. So I just wanted to name that we've had a pretty rough week for many marginalized communities, and proud to stand in solidarity with my Jewish family as we are seeing this, as well as with the Trump administration's recommendations on the trans community. We've had a pretty rough few weeks here. So just wanted to also stand in solidarity with my Jewish family as well. Thank you.
Councilmember Vice President Jenkins.
Thank you, Chair Warsame, and thank you so much for the leadership and actually acknowledging this tragedy in our country. And I would just invite the members that are in the audience to join us all in just a moment of silence. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chair Warsame. As a human being, this has been a rough week and year. In a lot of ways, as we've seen rising racism and anti-Semitism and gender discrimination and a whole variety of things. As a Jew, it's been a particularly challenging weekend. And I just want to thank everybody who has really wrapped their arms around my community in love as we wrestle with the grief and fear that this moment has prompted. So thank you for your comments, and thank you everybody for acknowledging a particularly challenging moment as we move forward. And I want to just communicate to everyone that our doors are open at City Hall, that we stand against racism and anti-Semitism, and that if you are seeking support, if you are looking for ways that we can show up for our community here at City Hall, for our community out in the city, I really invite you to reach out. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Fletcher. And first, let's dispense with our consent agenda for today. And we have 24 items on the consent agenda, and I will read those items. Item number 1 is a legal settlement claim of Leah Awodi. Item number 2 is a legal settlement, City of Minneapolis versus Jeffrey Larson. Item number 3 is a legal settlement claim of Kathy General. Item number 4 is a navigation center development. Item number 5 is a contract amendment with Hagen Christensen Architects for the Minneapolis Police Department warehouse project. Item number 6 is a bid for the Minneapolis Convention Center terrazzo replacement. Item number 7 is a contract amendment with Premier Electrical Corporation for contract closeout of the portico and exterior replacement project. Item number 8 is a contract with Wheelan Event Staff Services. Item number 9 is a contract amendment with Securitas USA for security services as operated by various city departments. Item number 10 is a contract with Little Dog Inc., which is the UPS store for the business center lease at the Minneapolis Convention Center. Item number 11 is a contracts for citywide temporary staffing services. Item number 12 is a grant for resiliency in communities after stress and trauma program. Item number 13 is a grant for Pioneers and Soldiers Cemetery Restoration Project. Item number 14 is a 2018 third quarter donations. Item number 15 is the donations for travel and lodging expenses for Special Olympics of Minnesota Law Enforcement Torch Run Planning. Item number 16 is a donation for travel and lodging expenses for New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services. Item number 17 is a contract with Infinity Wireless for two-way radio airtime services. Item number 18 is a donation of repurposed heavy-duty tactical shelters for use in tactical operations. Item number 19 is a training reimbursement for Minnesota Board of Firefighters Training and Education, approved training. Item number 20 is a bid for Leamington Ramp and Half Ramp Lighting Retrofit Project. Item number 21 is a bid for hauling and disposal of dirt, snow, and asphalt millings. Item number 22 is a contract amendment with Safety Science LLC for traffic control devices. Item number 23 is a temporary easement agreement for Cedar Avenue South sanitary reconstruction project. Item number 24 is the Department of Housing and Urban Development HUD Home Program and Neighborhood Stabilization Program NSP 3 appropriations. And those are all the consent items. Is there any discussions with regards to the consent items? Council Vice President Jenkins.
Thank you, Chair Rasami. And I just want to try to understand, when we increase contracts or extend contracts, do we also increase the requirements for small businesses and women of color, people of color owned businesses?
Okay, we have some of the city staff here. Our CFO, Mark Ruff, if you try to answer that question.
Chair Warsame, Council Vice President Jenkins, I think the short answer is yes, we try to. I can't promise you that on every one it happens, but we do our best to involve civil rights when there is a material increase in a contract. Yeah.
And then what would be the number that of an increase in a contract that would facilitate that? Is there a threshold or?
Yeah, I could draw upon some of our property services staff in terms of their experience if they want to comment. But I think we try to bring it to the attention of civil rights for every contract that's over $100,000, right? So that's typically the threshold that is involved. And I think the difficulty in terms of we run into is that usually it's one subcontractor who drives that increase in a contract, right? And so it's easy if they already have, that is an SUBP firm, right? Or they have workforce that's already there. If that subcontractor was not part of the original SUBP goals, and then because of the increase, we say you have to go out and try to add now a new subcontractor, that's where it makes a more difficult conversation, and we don't often see the results in that change. So, but as much as possible, we involve civil rights in those conversations, and I think we are working procedurally to make sure we do a better job than maybe we did several years ago on making sure that happens.
Yeah, I guess the concern is people underbid, get the contract, and then say, oh, we need $3 more million to do it.
Right. So that, Chair Warsame, Council Vice President Jenkins, I think that is a weakness of just purely a low bid approach, and I think we will be having ongoing conversations with FSAM, our Facilities Space Asset Management Department Head Group, as well as bringing that to Council on some other ways besides just purely low bid to bring to you some options so that those discussions happen more concurrently. When I mean those discussions, it's what are the SUBP workforce goals and what is your bid, as opposed to right now, the way it works is, what's your bid, and then let's review your goals and see if you met the goals, and if you didn't, then we need to go through best efforts. And I think we find oftentimes that both sides are disappointed, both the contractor and the city, in those results. And so we will be bringing some other options for you to consider to getting out of that cycle.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or discussions with regards to the consent items? Okay, seeing none, all in approve. I make a motion to approve the consent items. All in approval, say aye.
Aye.
Those against, those items have been approved. Next, we're going to move on to our discussion item. We have a number of discussion items from 25 to 31 on your agenda, and they're all to do with the new office building. Let me read out the the discussion items. Item number 25 is a contract amendment with Pi Consulting and Engineering for additional building enclosure commissioning services for the public services building. Item number 26 is a bid for new public services building steel tax exempt material purchase. Item number 27 is a contract amendment with Carlton Companies, Inc. for additional costs associated with the demolition of the existing 501 4th Avenue South structure. Item number 28 is a contract with Professional Service Industries, Inc. for construction, testing, and inspection services for the public service building project. Item number 29 is a contract amendment with Kevitt Companies for additional costs associated with the amended construction schedule for the public services building project. Item number 30 is a contract amendment with M.A. Mortensen for additional construction managers as an advisor services for the public service building project. Item number 31 is a bids for concrete steel installation and waterproofing for the new public services building project. Many items to discuss, and I have Mr. Greg Goki from our finance department to give us a presentation. Go ahead, Greg.
Good afternoon, Chairman Warsame and committee members. I'm Greg Goki of Finance and Property Services and the city's lead staff person on our new public service building project. Today, my goal is to give you a brief update on the project as well as any planned improvements that we have coming forward here in City Hall as well. Our initial set of bid packages to date, the city has benefited from a competitive construction market with bids coming in under our previously projected estimates. This week we'll be advertising for what we refer to as bid package 3, which includes mechanical, electrical, elevators, roofing, and related building enclosures, as well as security systems. This bid package represents approximately 40% of the overall anticipated construction costs. The current schedule would have the new building completed in early fall of 2020, with a phased move-in of 8 departments over the course of the following months. We have also increased the scope of the project to include a new crime lab for the police department, as well as placement of solar photovoltaic arrays on the highest roof of the building. As for City Hall, we'll be working in concert with the Municipal Building Commission to hire a qualified design team for the planned improvements to update City Hall office spaces to our modern workplace standards. The demolition of the existing structure is moving forward at a better pace as the contractor Carlton Companies has been able to work from the ground the last few weeks, and the demolition is now scheduled to be completed on November 18th, with shoring, excavations, underground utilities, and deep foundations work beginning after the Thanksgiving holiday. Our excavation contractor, Kevitt Companies, needed to have their contract amended to reflect the new project schedule that places a good portion of the work in the most demanding winter weather conditions. Conversely, though, bids for steel installation and upcoming bid awards for concrete benefited from warmer spring and summer conditions that have been reflected in their bids being lower than anticipated in our previous estimates in our previous project schedule. Another major change to our approach to project delivery has been recommended by M.A. Mortensen, acting as the city's construction manager as an advisor. The change is to break down a significant portion of the construction efforts into smaller scopes of work. The project was originally envisioned to have 7 larger bundled scopes of work that would be typically bid and contracted with general contractors. Our approach now is to break down the project into 24 smaller scopes of work and to directly bid and contract with those specialty contractors. The net result of this change is the reduction in overall cost of coordinating and managing the work on site, and our projected net savings to the project is estimated to be $1.7 million. With that, I'm glad to answer any questions the committee may have.
Any questions? Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just looking at item number 26 around the steel purchase and wondering what effects the Trump tariffs on steel have had on these material prices.
Councilmember Johnson, and I do also have Dave Foley from M.A. Mortensen here that may probably answer the question better as far as impact of costs. My understanding from Mortensen is the market did uptick when the first of the steel tariffs went and aluminum tariffs went into place, and then the market stabilized at a higher cost, and so that is reflected in our bid. So our steel bid with Lejeune, if I remember right, is slightly over $7 million, but that is for the structural steel of the building. There are other components in the building, like conduit for electrical, door frames, and so forth, that will have an uptick as well. I believe early on, our thoughts were the overall project, it may be a $2 million increase. As you know, throughout all the bids and all the subcontracts.
I appreciate the estimate on that. I know from talking with the park commissioner that they're already experiencing those in their bids as well, those impacts, and are actually pulling back on some of their plans and some of their work as well. So I think it's a cost that is ultimately, as a result of these policies by the Trump administration, is hurting our taxpayers. And I appreciate you looking into what the impact is.
Council Vice President Jenkins.
Thank you, Chair Warsame and Mr. Goki. So just so I'm clear, the demolition is $1.4 million under its bid, initial estimates?
The combination of favorable bids with our low bidder, which we've experienced some project delay, and other bids that are coming in under estimate, whether that be purchase of the steel erection, or the concrete work, those total have been $1.4 million under our estimates.
For the demo?
No, for the combination of those 4 scopes of work that we've already bid out, and some of those being awarded today.
Got it.
Hopefully being awarded.
And then, what was the rationale for Mortensen's suggestion that we go away from the 7 general contractors to the 24
Councilmember
specialty bids?
Councilmember Jenkins, I'll ask Dave Foley, give a little bit more background to the rationale behind it, what we expect to get for value added out of this process on top of reduced cost.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. So this is my first time in front of the council, so excuse me if I don't have all the proper etiquettes. The reason we looked at expanding the number of bid packages, it was to eliminate some of the markups that a general contractor would have. For an example, originally proposed, there was a interior package for approximately $29 million. And that interior package was the drywall, the ceilings, the flooring, the painting, the casework, all the stuff that basically finishes out an interior project. And if you hired that as a complete package of $30 million, that general contractor, or $29 million, that general contractor would have to hire a flooring contractor, a ceiling contractor, a painting contractor, and they would typically mark those up 7 to 10%. So what we suggested was to go directly to a flooring contractor, a ceiling contractor, a painting contractor, and eliminate that 7 to 10% markup. So we did that for the interiors. We also did it for the structure, the foundations, the steel, the concrete. That also that was approximately a $20 million package. And by splitting that up to the contractors that we are asking for approval today, for a separate concrete contractor, a separate steel contractor, separate tax-exempt contractor, again, we were saving the approximately 7 to 10%. So we had anticipated that the markups that we would be savings, similar to the enclosure. So if there was one enclosure contractor, that was a $26.6 million package. That would have been an exterior glazing, metal panel, and roofing contractor, skylight contractor. By going to those separately, we were anticipating from those markups saving approximately 10%, or $3.4 million.
So is that incorporated into this $1.4 million savings, I guess?
What you're seeing when I refer, Councilmember Jenkins, when we're talking about the net savings being 1.7 million, there's a savings over $3 million, but offset by this contract amendment with Mortensen for those contracts to be broken up and managed separately. And there's a couple other benefits I'd like to bring forward too, is that we did meet with the Civil Rights Department prior to making this change in project delivery. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to give an example of maybe if the, we'll just use a painting as an example. If it was larger part of an interiors package, there may be qualified painting contractors that would be bidding as a subcontractor, but maybe the majority of the work went to the drywall contractor, who was a small business, and they didn't get that opportunity. By going directly to these small businesses and giving them the opportunity to be a prime contractor, we do feel we're going to have a higher participation overall on the project by not having the middle person dictating limits and who gets those types of contracts and work. And then there's also the scheduling benefit of working directly and not through an intermediate, and then also the quality control measures that we work more directly with the contractors doing the work if we have any disputes that we need to have resolved.
Thank you.
I don't see any other questions. Mr. Goki, let me ask you a question. With regards to the demolition contract, it does say here that the completion date has been moved to November 18th with penalties. What are the penalties, and when was the initial completion date, the prior one?
Chairman Warasami, the original demolition contract was bid in two ways: 3 months completion and 4-month completion. There was not a great savings to go to a 4-month schedule, and that allowed us to also collect a percentage of revenues on the parking ramp by shortening that construction demolition time frame. So we went with the 3-month window, which would have had them finishing on September 18th. We did not have as-built drawings of that parking ramp as part of the real estate exchange. We put out a bid package that represented our best understanding of the ramp, but we did want a controlled demolition, a safe demolition, and to impact our, not only City Hall, but our neighboring properties as little as possible. In the original contract, we had a damage clause for actual damages, which may be something that we would have to put legal team to and potentially have to go to court as part of that proceedings. We have moved this to a liquidated damage, which means we're in control of the situation. And that liquidated damage has been agreed upon by the contractor to be $10,000 a day for any day past November 18th if they're not completed.
All right, thank you. Any other questions from my colleagues? Seeing none, I'll move to approve. I'll make a motion to approve items 25 to 31 for approval. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against? That has been approved, so we've approved our discussion items, and having concluded the committee's business, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone.